let's talk this week in wrestling.
Awesome.
And let us kick off with the Monday night show, that is Raw. This week, the match card, or the rundown of what was on the show, is we had Randy Orton calling out Drew McIntyre for SummerSlam.
Okay, cool.
We had the number one contender match for SummerSlam for the tag titles, the Viking Raiders taking on Cedric and Ricochet and Garza and Andrade.
I'll let you run through the card, but I have some comments on that as well.
And it was actually Garza and Andrade who picked up the win in that bout. We had Shayna Baszler take on Nia Jax. These two have not been seen in weeks on the show, and now they're both back and they're fighting each other. And that one fought to a no contest. We had Seth Rollins speaking on the Rey Mysterio incident, and he wants to hear from Dominic. Ali is the special guest on the MVP Lounge. Surely no hijinks can ensue. And then the next match was Lashley taking on Ali. I wonder what happened on the MVP Lounge. With Ali just come back fresh after being away for so long, and Lashley gets the win. Okay. We then have the women's title on the line with Asuka taking on Sasha Banks. Sasha wins, technically, kind of, but now is the champion because of rules.
I need to discuss that a little bit with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We had Murphy taking on Humberto. I don't actually remember who won, if I'm honest. I think it was Murphy, but I've just put next to it was a match.
Let's be honest. Who cares? Other than going, oh, Humberto's on the card for once. I don't care.
Like, we should have, W for win, L for loss, NC for no contest, and, WC for who cares. And then the main event of the evening was a rematch between Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler, in which Drew McIntyre was able to pick the stipulation this time. He chose Extreme Rules, which is what the match was. Only he can have Extreme Rules too. And because he's a good guy, he still let Dolph have Extreme Rules as well. And he battered him. And he won. So that was the show. In terms of the highlights, so Orton calling out Drew.
That came out of nowhere. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm all for it. But that came out of nowhere. We were all Legend Killer for a while, and now suddenly this.
Absolutely. It came as such a shock because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it to be done in this way. But I feel like we've had a lot of Randy Orton ranty Orton. T-shirt for you. Just a lot about rants, basically. But he's kind of had some promos that have just been going on and on for weeks, and this was short to the point. We already know he's got no plans now with Edge being out, and Christian was a little stopgap, Big Show was a little stopgap. So they also have nothing for Drew by the sounds of it. So fuck it, why not?
Here's what's gonna happen. You ready? So it's SummerSlam, this isn't it? SummerSlam. So we've still got a few weeks, right? Here's what's gonna happen. Orton and Drew are gonna have the match. It's gonna very much look like Orton's gonna win the match, and then Edge is gonna ruin it for Orton, and we're gonna continue the whole Edge thing. That's what's going to happen.
And then Otis cashes in.
Pins a passed out Drew.
I mean, it's WWE.
And ruins everything.
So that was definitely a highlight. Seth, so he was back to his good old self this week. None of this was his fault. He didn't want it to end up in violence. He literally had
I'm kind of with him on that. If only him and Ray could have seen eye to eye.
He'd be on the same page with him, but he literally brought out fucking ice picks and everything to get his eye out, and it's like, hold on a minute, mate.
Yeah. Do you know what puzzles me, right? And everything's great with hindsight, right? He could have avoided doing this hokey fake eye bullshit, right? By Ray going eye for an eye. It's all about eye for an eye, and then when he finally picks the stipulation, makes it an I quit match.
That would have worked. I know. I do feel you're a bit insensitive talking about hindsight, obviously.
Yeah.
He hasn't even got that anymore, has he? Poor guy.
Well, that's true. That's true. I'm just
so I thought Seth was back to his old self in this one. It was a lot more on point from him. Dominic comes down and kind of starts attacking him. I think he has a kendo stick. That happened towards the end. But Aleister Black gets involved.
Of course, because you can't just have 2 people. You need loads of people involved.
It's Raw. Everyone has to be involved in these angles. But yeah, Aleister Black comes down and he gets battered. And Seth forces Murphy to do to Aleister Black what he had done to Ray, and he pushes his eye up against the steel steps. And then Dominic goes mental and starts battering them with a kendo stick. So
it wasn't enough for me to make the news, but there is rumours that Aleister Black's having a gimmick change. So could he end up being a pirate?
Maybe. I've only Kairi Sane still here. Okay. But yeah, so
it'll start out subtle. He'll just have an eye patch on and they'll go, "How are you feeling?" He'll be like, "Ah."
I mean, it's more coherent than the shit he says today, so I'll accept it. And then the only other highlight I've got for this week was Drew and Dolph. It was really good. It was better than the previous match they had at Extreme Rules. Drew was back to his good self on the mic. He's kind of kicked off with a promo to Randy.
He had a Claymore party, obviously.
Oh well, obviously you've got to get the catchphrases in.
Back at his best, didn't
he? Back at his best. I mean, he didn't talk about a Claymore countdown that I remember. So fingers crossed. Do you know what I thought was interesting with this though is that he actually did the surprise Claymore, didn't he? At Extreme Rules, and now he's going up against Orton with the surprise RKO. So it's like, are they going to have a bit of a finisher spam off?
Oh yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? Because
the only thing is though, the
very similar
very
in that
well
sense,
protected, isn't it? So is the RKO though. To be fair, isn't it? Not many kick out of either. So,
but this is where they're going to do it though, aren't they? This is where they're going to have them kick out of it. Because bear in mind, like they've done this before, haven't they? Where it's like the F5 was protected for a while, and then people were kicking out of F5. Well, Drew, I think, actually kicked out of an F5 because he got hit with one straight away at WrestleMania.
Kicked out at one.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll be frightened of like not protecting these moves. I think they will probably do something like that with the pair of them because they're not damaging the move. They're just making them look tough, which is one of the few times it's executed properly, isn't it? In all fairness. Definitely.
Yeah, I thought this match, was the close of the show, and it was really good. It was so much better than the one we had previously. I was all over it. So great match, and then Drew wins it, and to close out the show, surprise RKO from Orton out of nowhere. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a whole kind of shock, this feud, but it's one I'm on board with. So I'm actually looking forward to it. See, if it feels like. It feels like a SummerSlam worthy kind of main event, doesn't it? No disrespect to Dolph, but if you had Drew versus Dolph, it would feel a bit like meh. Whereas at least Randy Orton's got that level of caliber and a roster that's quite depleted at the moment that you can believe it.
Yeah, he's like a legit big star. Again, no offense to Dolph, but that's proper main event worthy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so in terms of the old shite then, the Street Profits. Now. Because we think they're so charismatic and they're dead good, they now get to try their hand at announcing, Anthony. Yes, what we wanted. They're so funny.
No, you don't want to announce.
They're not
just
at all.
Make noises.
Exactly. Right. So, but what's better than hearing them just be like hearing them on the mic is hearing them really, really loud on the mic and shouting people's names. So it's what we want.
Literally, what do they contribute? I've been all for, I didn't mind the funny comic stuff they do in the Viking Raiders, but what do they contribute announcing wise? They don't. They're just loud. Yeah. Distracting.
I mean, and to be honest, if we need to do overrated tag teams because they'll be top of my list. I'm honest. They're shite.
Well, we couldn't. We'd have to do like across the board. We couldn't just do WWE because WWE are like not very good with tag teams anyway. It'd be unfair.
This is true.
It'd be like shooting fish in a barrel.
But yeah, so that was shit. The match itself was so predictable. Like, was Viking Raiders or the fucking Cedric and Ricochet really going to win? No. So we get these Mexican medley again.
Here's the thing that kind of bugged me though. That it's like I know the Viking Raiders kind of had a match for it, but they've put in a lot more work into having their shot at the titles. I really feel like they've been done over in that sense. I think they should have another match. But yeah, they had a match that was so lackluster that I can't even remember it, but they did end up having a match for it, but it was just shit. Yeah, you need to have a proper good match with them.
And it was weeks and weeks build and for that. So yeah. I don't know.
It went out like a fucking rubbish firework, didn't it?
Yeah. So it was just boring. It was predictable and yeah, not a fan. Next on the list, so Shayna Baszler comes out and confronts Nia Jax. And do you know what? I didn't mind it.
Okay.
If I'm honest. Right?
Okay.
So, the thing that was weird about it though was Shayna almost seemed like the face, which I don't really get because obviously she's like a monster heel and Nia Jax is a monster heel. So okay, so I didn't mind the start to it, but then they go into this
probably
big,
the right
call
scuffle. Though. In all fairness, because I think it wasn't Nia having some legit heat from the audience as well, like from the fans. So it kind of makes sense to do the face thing for Shayna.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just do heel versus heel if you're going to do it. Like, I don't even think you should try and turn any of them. But yeah, it was definitely a face kind of promo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the ensuing scuffle that happened after the fact, and they were like they were tossing around like security and stuff, and like it was like, we're women, but we're strong and we can beat people up, and yeah, overbooked. Like if I'm going to say anything Cody Rhodes does is overbooked, then you can't not say this is overbooked. Like it was just, I don't know, it could have been something decent, I think, but then yeah, it was just meh in the end.
Yeah, it's a match that I'd definitely watch, but like you say, a bit of an odd way to set everything up.
Yeah. And then I mentioned it before, but you have Ali on the sidelines for ages. Finally bring him back in quite a mediocre way, just as part of like this 3-on-3 tag match. But okay, cool, we'll go with it. He then is the guest in the MVP VIP lounge, what the fuck it's called, and as a match with Lashley off the back of it, and he fucking loses. What a waste of time! Like really, you've brought this guy back. He's something fresh and different. He was quite well liked the last time he had a run, and yeah, you've just had him come back and lose straight away.
Yep, fuck that guy. That's the approach.
Yeah, and then the other O'Shite and the final O'Shite of the night for Raw is the women's title match. So it was set up to finally declare a true winner once and for all, and yet, even in a situation where shenanigans are acceptable, fucking shenanigans, and they felt like it wasn't acceptable. We haven't got a true winner, but we do. So obviously, the fact of the matter is Bayley and Sasha outsmarted them. They got Kairi Sane and they were battering her in the back. And
now, am I missing something here, Carl?
Go on.
How come the title could change hands on a countout?
I mean, it was never specified, really, was it? I don't think. I know Stephanie said if people get involved or if there's disqualifications, if Bayley gets involved, whatever, then you'll lose. You'll lose.
Am I off base, or do you normally, if you get a count out, you don't lose your belt? Have I got that wrong?
No, so normally, yeah, that's the case. But I suppose even if that was the case, technically Sasha was the champion.
Yeah, but this is the bit that puzzles me with the whole thing, because didn't Steph say that wasn't a legitimate win, which is why they were having the match, and then she got the count out and retained the belt that she never won. It kind of puzzled me, that, to be honest. I'm all for this kind of stuff happening. It's just like, can you be clearer? Because I'm a bit like, well, that's still, to me, I would still be going, well, who's actually the champion?
Well, exactly.
They're just going, she is the champ. I'm okay, sure.
Exactly. That's the main reason why it's in these in Mio Shites, to be honest, because the whole point of it was to finally declare a rightful champ, and they still use the fucking count out like shenanigans way of declaring it. So I get that they want to make Asuka look strong, but it was just
probably would have been happier with it had they have put Kairi in potentially more danger. Like, it didn't look that worrying, did it? Like, she's all right. She wasn't getting much offense in, but she was just getting thrown around a little bit backstage. It's not like she was going to pull her eye out or something.
I mean, to be honest, even in Aleister Black was getting his fucking eye pulled out, and nobody really ran to save him. It was just Dominic, and that was only because he,
It's crazy. You don't even get EMTs anymore, do you? It's just like, let them fight it out. They'll get tired.
It's all right though. If you have Shayna versus Nia, then you get a shitload of security and people there, and they just get fucking tossed around like ragdolls. So anyway,
unless they all wrapped up a bit too late for saving Aleister, and they're like, it's over, guys. Sorry. So they were just there ready anyway.
Maybe. Yeah. But that was Raw for this week. So some good stuff. Some things progressed, but a lot of bad stuff as well. So for me, it was a very middle of the road kind of show. So I was toying with whether to give this 2 or 2.5, but I think I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I was anticipating your 2.5 and thinking 2 as well. But yeah, I'm all for the 2. I think a lot of the stuff even the good stuff was kind of poorly executed. So yeah, it's a 2 from me as well.
Okay.
So, should we do NXT?
Let's do NXT.
Oh, go on then. Right. So, as far as the card goes, Carl, we opened the night out. We had Tegan Nox and Io Shirai taking on Dakota Kai and Candice LeRae, with Tegan Nox and Io getting the win. We had Johnny Gargano versus Roderick Strong, with Gargano getting the win. We saw Shotzi Blackheart versus Mercedes Martinez, with Mercedes getting the win. We saw Keith Lee and Cameron Grimes, sort of, with Lee getting the win. I say sort of because this was on the back of Keith Lee coming out to respond to Carrion, which I will discuss in spoilers, but I'll discuss it in my highlights. We saw Imperium versus Everrise, with Imperium getting the win because, when do Everrise ever win? We saw Isaiah Scott and Jake Atlas go toe-to-toe with Isaiah Scott getting the win. And then we finished the night off, Carl, with the is it number one contender? It's not. This is a match to determine who goes to the ladder match to become the number one contender for the North American title. Not to be too convoluted.
The number one contender for the number one contendership.
Yeah, this is exactly. So we saw Finn Balor versus Dexter Lumis versus Tim Thatcher in a triple threat to decide who goes on to the ladder match. And we saw Dexter Lumis get the win. So that was the card.
I was happy about.
Oh, yes. That was the card, right? As far as the highlights go, my first one's weird because it's kind of in my highlights and my O'Shites. And that was the opening match. I thought it was an actual fantastic match. They start out with some just all-out brawling. Like, they didn't make it to the ring. It was one of those scenarios where everyone was attacking everyone. And ultimately, the ref ends up ringing the bell when they make their way to the ring. But this was just a really good display of women's wrestling, which I think is why it deserves to be in the highlights. They all sort of really put a lot of good effort in. It was a really good match to watch. It was a good hype build straight out of the gate as an opener as well. So I thought I'll give it a mention because I thoroughly enjoyed that match and the way it went. And I will clarify the reason it's sort of in my O'Shites as well, but we'll get to that. The other highlight I want to mention is the Keith Lee and Karrion Kross segment. I think this worked so well in so many ways. Like, I'm not a big fan of Cameron Grimes, but if you're going to have someone sort of take an absolute beating from Keith Lee for just basically getting in your way, this is the way to do it. I thought it was brilliant because I was honestly ready to roll my fucking eyes when Cameron's coming out and wanting a shot at the title and all. And I'm like, fuck off. But luckily for me, Keith Lee fought the same way, so he just tore through him. And then we see sort of Scarlett appear in the ring, and we had that whole sort of antagonism from Carrion, who appeared on the screen, goading Lee into accepting the match, which is the match I really want to see. The whole segment just worked really well for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I was ready to be pissed off when Cameron came out, but I think that's why it worked so much better. And then my last highlight was the main event itself. Like, I was a bit dubious going into this. I was like, well, they're not going to damage Finn here, and they've been booking Tim like an absolute beast. So I was a bit worried because I was with you, Carl. As much as I wasn't too hot on Dexter Lumis, out of those three, he was the best one for me to win this. So it's in my highlights because of the results, because it's awesome to see Dexter Lumis going into that ladder match. And to be honest, in some respects, it was great seeing the way the win was executed, because I knew they were going to protect Finn, so Finn never took the loss, as it were. But the fact that Dexter Lumis got a submission victory on Tim Thatcher, who has been the submission guy, I thought was actually quite a nice little touch, and I could see them sort of going toe-to-toe again at some point. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed the way they sort of executed this main event, other than the fact that, Finn's not really there to do much at the minute, but they'll protect him from taking losses like this.
Do you know what, I don't want to digress too much, but Finn was a very real candidate to end up on my overrated, and I used to love Finn. Demon Finn, boss.
Yeah.
This incarnation of Finn sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was...
that's why you don't see the Demon anymore, because even he knows it's shit.
Exactly. But no, I was... and you know what, I would have loved to have seen, the way to bring the Demon back as, one of... in one of the Fiends, in the Fiend's world. We just have one of these things where we're in the world of the Fiend, and there's all these things, and then the Demon Balor's just there.
They almost share a world. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting
cool.
As fuck, wouldn't it? That'd be a great way to lead to them two having a match, actually.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, I'm
Freddy versus Jason all over again now.
I was made up for Dexter. I said the very, very first time I saw him, when I started watching NXT properly for these things, I was like, this guy, he's going to have something. So made up for the guy, and hopefully, who knows, maybe it'll lead to him picking up his first championship. But yeah, proper chuffed.
Yeah. Do you have any other highlights, Carl, before I move on to the O'Shites?
No, not really, if I'm honest.
Kind of weak, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll move on to the O'Shites, Carl, because we have a lot more to talk about there. So the first one I want to mention is Everrise. Now, I mentioned this last week. They shouldn't be a tag team. They're getting just squashed left and right. They were squashed this time. We had the Undisputed Era showing up. That kind of pissed me off as well because, like, well, you guys have been around. Why are you only just interested in the titles now? Why have you had to wait for Adam Cole to lose his belt before you even want to go for the titles? It doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, you got Undisputed Era rocking up now as well, and absolutely no sign of Breezango. And I'm like, well, wasn't Breezango kind of the ones that were going to go for the tag titles? Like, how are we determining this anymore? I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't too happy with the way that all worked. And it's like, well, don't keep Ever Rise around just to squash them all the time. I feel sorry for the guys at this point, to be honest.
Yeah. Like, legitimately, I said it last week, and I don't know whether it's just me. I get, like, really shitty imitation Young Bucks vibes from them. So it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if they're having them be this team. There's like a shit version of the Young Bucks and just have them lose every week.
Yeah, just to make a point.
Just to be that petty. Yeah, like, legitimately.
That would not surprise me, actually. But yeah, going on to my next shite was just generally Shotzi Blackheart. I'm not sold on it. Like, this match was confusing because they had Shotzi take the loss. So she's jobbing out to Mercedes Martinez. But they didn't even do that right. I'm not blaming Shotzi for that, but they didn't even do that right because they didn't. It was actually quite a balanced match with Shotzi getting a lot of the advantage from the off. And it's like, well, now you've not booked Mercedes as a monster or a threat because she had to work for that match. So what have you achieved other than Shotzi taking a loss? The match itself was a bit weak for me on that point. They're trying to build her up under the Robert Stone brand, and it was a hard fought victory. And yes, she still took the win, but I'm not sold on Shotzi I wouldn't have been bothered to do the squash Shotzi. No offense, Shotzi, but as a gimmick at the minute, just seems all over the place. Like, yeah, that's weird. Give it to Shotzi. That's weird. We'll let her do that. She can drive the tiny tank.
I'm telling you, from the time I saw her at the Rumble and said she just looks like a creative wrestler.
You did say
like,
that.
Legit. It's like, okay, well, I don't like me creative wrestlers' entrance now. Let me change to fucking Superstar 23. Oh, look, they've got a tank. Yeah,
that's
fuck
awesome.
it. We'll use that one.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, the reason why a gimmick is weird at the minute, she hasn't fucking got one. She's just, what is she?
Exactly.
What the fuck is she?
And that was the whole thing with this. Like, for me, that it failed in its execution. If they were using it to push Mercedes, that didn't work either. So yeah, the whole thing just is a bit limp, really, I suppose. Now, the last one I'm going to mention, and this is the one where I said, well, it's in my highlights as well, was and it's not specifically the match, but it's the fact that Io Shirai, since she's won the women's the title, I've not seen her in a lot of singles competition. And I find this a bit weird. Like, if you were to think about Io Shirai's run as women's champion right now, it would be quite shit and quite lackluster. Like, and I don't want to be too unfair to it because that was a really good match and I've seen her in some really good matches. But where's the singles run? Where's the actual, like, since she took the win and since she sort of, she basically buried Rhea Ripley because Rhea had to take the loss because we can't hurt Charlotte. We've had her participating in tag matches and so on like that. Like, there's not been a lot of singles work, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, the women's title isn't even sort of slated for takeover as far as I'm aware. So I just find that a little bit strange. So it's kind of a negative within the positive that I'm kind of like, why is Io not having a singles run? She's the women's champion.
Very fair point, to be honest. Like, I know she didn't get the pin over Charlotte herself, but that's quite a big. She still holds a victory over Charlotte, so it's like, okay, bloody hell, that's kind of made her a bit in the women's division in NXT. But like you said, what's it done for her? They've not put her into a meaningful program.
They seem to have totally failed to use that momentum at all. It's really weird.
And also, how did you feel about Keith Lee saying bullshit?
I like it. We're edgy. We're an edgy product now.
Edgy, yeah. AEW is edgy, so we'll be edgy too.
The X means extreme. But yeah, no. I like that they're slowly getting there, aren't they? Like, they're trying to compete, so we're going to start dropping certain bullshits or F-bombs or whatever way you can get away with it. Fuck it, there's no kids in the audience. Overall, though, NXT for me this week was a 3 out of 5. It was actually pretty good. There was a lot of good matches on there, some good results. You'll notice I never mentioned Gargano's match at all because it was all right. didn't really hit highlight status, but there you go.
I feel like that is just Gargano all over. Like, he's another one who everyone fucking loves, and it's like, he's all right.
Like, his nickname's Johnny Wrestling. That kind of bugs me.
Yeah, I mean, come on. But yeah, I can't quite muster up a 3 for it this week, so I think I'm gonna have to go with 2.5. I think end to end, it was better than Raw, but still lackluster for me.
Yeah, no, I can see why you're getting there. I can see why you're going for 2.5. Like, there was a lot of they could have done better, but I don't know. I suppose I'm hyped about where they're going with it. Like, as much as I didn't like the way Keith Lee dropped the North American title, I'm really enjoying the build up to this ladder match. And as much as there seems to be a lot of obstacles in the way, the building and seems to be fairly quickly now, the Karrion Kross versus Keith Lee stuff. So I'm just I'm hyped, I'm ready. So that's probably why it gets a bit more of a generous rating from me.
Cool, that makes sense. So the Superior Wednesday show. Come at me, bro.
All about ruffling feathers today.
So AEW's Dynamite, the card this week. We kicked off with an epic 10-man tag bout with the Best Friends and Jurassic Express taking the win over the Inner Circle. Nice. We had the TNT title on the line with Cody taking on Warhorse, another indie guy making his debut.
I'm very much intrigued to get your thoughts on that when we get to either the highlights or lowlights, whatever you put it, because I didn't know anything about Warhorse going into this, so I'm intrigued on your thoughts on that.
Okay. And Cody picked up the win, no surprise there. For the tag titles, we got the Dark Order, Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, taking on obviously the champions Hangman and Omega, with those guys retaining. We had Hikaru Shida taking on Diamante. I think it was for the women's title, maybe, was it? I don't remember. But yeah, that was a match and it happened. And we got to hear from MJF on the state of the industry.
Yes, we did.
Promo of the year contender? I think so. And the main event of the evening was Mox teaming up with Darby Allin to take on Brian Cage and Ricky Starr. So, in terms of the highlights, the opening match, as is always the case with Dynamite, is a treat. So
yeah, they've got the setup down to a T, haven't they, to be fair?
Oh god, yeah. Literally, they hook you in from the very first match, and then they kind of keep you through meaningful segments, and then every now and again there's stuff that happens in the middle which is a bit meh, but that it's going to pick back up again, so it kind of keeps you captivated for the whole show.
Yeah.
And this was no different. So 10-on-10 match. We've spoken previously around. 10-on-10? No, it wasn't. Was it? No, it was 10-man tag, right? 5v5. Yes. That makes more sense.
Yeah. I was like, hang on, no, that does sound right. And I'm like, no, yeah, you're right, it's 5v5 because 10v10 would be insane.
I was about to say these multi-matches are getting fucking ridiculous. But yeah, we said before on the show that it's quite hard at times in these big multi-man matches to kind of follow the action, and it's they can be quite cumbersome, but this one was fine. It wasn't a wrestling clinic by any stretch, but at the same time, it wasn't meant to be. It was just a really fun multi-man match with some really kind of big talent to open the show, which is,
it's a fair point though, because I never expect them to be a technical sort of display. I just want to be able to keep track of what's going on. That's sort of what I want from these sort of segments, because they're big and there's a lot going on. You don't expect that sort of caliber of wrestling technique in the ring. As long as I know who's doing what, then I'm fine with it. I can work with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like they kind of delivered on that in this. It wasn't too hard to follow, not by any means. At one point in the match, Luchasaurus's face fell off, which wasn't ideal. But then again, that wasn't particularly helped by JR on commentary, to be fair. Which
it's JR.
Yeah, I don't know. He kind of he kind of made it more prominent than it needed to be honest. It was I'm all for don't just hide behind it, and it happens, so talk about it, but he went on and on about it, and yeah, I don't know, wasn't a big fan of that.
Did we get a bag out?
No, he was it wasn't a character assassination of Luchasaurus, but he wasn't exactly saying promising things either, so yeah, a bit weird. But I mentioned that the Inner Circle lost this match, and do you want to know why? Because Matt Hardy turned up, causing a distraction, and pushed Sammy Guevara off the turnbuckle, allowing the Jurassic Express and the other dudes, Best Friends, to get the win.
Okay.
So, interesting. I know that they were starting a bit of a program between Hardy and Guevara before Sammy was suspended.
That's a good point, that actually. Although at this point, I'm a bit what's your plan, Matt? Because a little bit directionless, but yeah, I take your point. They're probably trying to retread that old ground now. Sammy's back out of his, disappearance.
Yeah, and I think I'm looking forward to it, to be fair, because it's going to give Sammy some experience against some high level guys who've obviously been in the business for ages and stuff like that. So
when you're saying high-level guys, you just mean like all 7 iterations of Matt?
To be honest, I love that they're going into that as well. Like he was wearing a T-shirt that was like the multiverse of Matt, and it was like all his characters and stuff on it. So
I'm tempted by that shirt. You know, it does look awesome.
And like, you know, I feel like they are doing it right, because like you mentioned, you weren't massively invested in like the broken character, or you didn't quite get it, and it's like,
yeah,
that's cool. If you're not, don't worry, there's 5 others to choose from. So.
Do you know what? I think that's what's helped it though, because I'm all for version 1.
Exactly.
That right there, I'm like, yeah, that's the Matt I knew.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, it's so silly, but it's like good at the same time. It's like it's like the 3 faces of Foley, but like it's stepped up again, isn't it? So yeah, so excellent way to open the show. Jon Moxley, another fantastic promo from him, 2nd week in a row now. So I've been critical of him and his character and how he's kind of carried himself and come across.
I would say rightly so, though. Like, all fairness, he's obviously putting some work. You know, he's made some changes or whatever. But I don't think you've ever been unfair to him either. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of needed a better direction, and I think he's starting to get there.
Yeah, he's more convincing now. It doesn't feel like he's trying to play like the lunatic fringe like character or anything like that. It just feels like he's coming to his own a bit. And, you know, all I can say is you're welcome. You know, you've clearly been listening to the show, guys. You've taken the feedback and paying off. So you're welcome. So the next one, water is wet, grass is green, and Warhorse rules ass. This guy was awesome.
I really hope that they sign him properly, you know. I really do.
Like,
because they're still not done that whole thing where they put a picture up and go, Warhorse is all elite. So I don't think he's signed to the company just yet, but I'd love to see him again. I really would.
Yeah. Well,
like for someone who, like, he's obviously had some fandom on the indies, but I didn't know him at all. I did not have a clue. And I saw people getting really hyped about it. And I'm like, I actually thought I was going to be less impressed because people were getting so hype. But no, he's awesome. He's really good. It was a really good match.
And, you know, obviously we had Eddie Kingston last week. Was Cody's challenger, and it was, you know, people were kind of really upset the fact that it wasn't Warhorse, and I was like, never heard of this guy. So fair play, you know, to AEW for going, well, do you know what, you want fucking Warhorse, we'll get Warhorse in.
Like, but they're trying it again now, aren't they? It wasn't Undertaker.
Fucking hell, I hope not, actually, to be fair. Based
on
right? Recent stuff. But yeah, so yeah, I'd never ever heard of this guy, to be honest. Another kind of indie guy, and I've not followed indies in a while now, so I was mega impressed with him. He was different. Do you know what he felt like? He felt like in a show that is kind of geared up more towards like a slightly older kind of teen to like young adult audience. He felt like he was the kind of character that the kids would get behind.
He's down with the kids. That's what it is, yeah.
No, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, you've got like the likes of Rey Mysterio, where like to us, we're just like, but like kids, I know what you want the mask and stuff.
I know what you're trying to do here. You're like, I really liked him, and I think the kids would like him too. You're trying to just sound youthful. That's what's happening here.
Well, I mean, if I was trying to sound youthful, I'd be like, you know, as one of the cool kids.
Like, hello, fellow kids.
Steve Buscemi. I like
classic.
But yeah, so yeah, proper impressed with the guy. Hopefully they do sign him. The match itself was fine. I wouldn't say it was overproduced either. You know, which is a rarity in most Cody matches at the moment.
Very much so.
Yeah, but you know what? I mentioned this last week. We're starting to see a little bit of a breakdown now between Cody and Arn, and you could see it this week. And I'm not too sure where the Cody character's going. So
hopefully full heel, because I think he needs it.
Yeah, like you could clearly see that Arn was pissed off with him several times for how, like, you know, he wasn't listening to the game plan stuff. And there was one point he started doing push-ups in the middle of the ring, which I didn't understand, if I'm honest. But okay,
yeah.
And Arn was like furious with him, and like even after he won, Arn was like, "You can this close." So for whatever reason, it's not working between the two of them, and I think Cody might be heading more towards that heel kind of side of it.
I want to see Cody as a heel. I think it works so well because you kind of get to a point when it's like, you know, this could quite logically all go to his head. So putting him as a heel would be great. Like he's got a really prominent position in the company. He's the TNT champion. He's had a lot of wins under his belt. Yeah, become arrogant, become an arsehole, become that heel. And then when you do lose the TNT title, it'll feel better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's doing a terrible job as a face, but I definitely welcome seeing a change as well. So I'm quite interested to see where it goes. But after the match, Dark Order come down.
Okay.
And which I don't really know where they were going with that. Does Brody Lee want a shot at the belt now? I don't really know, but
Maybe he just wants to collect Warhorse. I need a Warhorse in my stable.
But then who obviously comes down to make the save? You've already mentioned
Carl?
it. Matt Cardona.
Matt Cardona, fucking donor. Yeah, I was totally made, as enthused as I didn't sound then. I was totally made up with this. I'm so glad he signed.
How's he do it? Yeah, that's what he does.
And L1.
Long Island
Okay.
IC now, I guess.
What he does calls him. He got it's Strong Island now or something in it. He uses.
Okay. Maybe.
But yeah, absolutely made up to see him. I think he's going to do really well here, and I'm not that I want them to do it straight away, but I'm super curious whether they're going to do anything with the internet title now.
I mean, it's a very good point. he's literally not long just got it remade and stuff like that. So what's he going to use it for? Is it going to be part of the show? Is he going to use a reignite a YouTube thing again?
Yeah, we'll have a YouTube which is beyond the mat. I'm here all week.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a really good chance to, this is his moment now, isn't it? He's been.
Arguably you could go. There's nothing stopping him from propelling now. He's got the creative freedom. He's got the sort of friends that he's got friends in high places. He's really good friends with Cody, and Cody's one of the main people in AEW. So he's got nothing but opportunity here. Nothing but opportunity.
Yeah. No, definitely, and I think who knows whether it ends up being Cody versus Cardona as the feud we get. Maybe Cody does turn.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think Cardona looks like an absolute monster there because obviously the rest of the roster's not humongous as such, are they? So it's he looks jacked and looks big. So
I'm gonna ask, right?
Go on.
Do you not think that move he does looks a little bit silly?
Which one? The leg thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Like, I get why it might be effective, but it looks really silly.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if we're being brutally honest about it, I wasn't a massive fan of the work he did because he came in, he absolutely nailed one of them, and then he missed his cue a little bit, and then it was like an awkward thing where he was getting beat up, and then the other guy ran at him, he did this little weird jumping knee thing, and it was like, what a weird offense. Like, you just come in, you just beat the guys up, just job done.
Yeah.
But I was happy to see him, so I didn't want to kind of.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be too critical. I just find that he's probably going to keep doing it as well. I just find the move kind of really jarring. It's really weird to look at. Kind of reminds me of a dog dragging its ass across the carpet. You know what I mean? Like, why is he doing that?
It's definitely going to be interesting trying to see him do that move on Marco Stunt. He probably doesn't even have to jump. He just lifts his leg up and just fall over. But yeah, so I was made up to see Matt Cardona there. Interesting to see how he does. Britt Baker, she was great again this week. So she was at ringside. Do you know what? They didn't really focus that much on it, but I followed the she did like the Instagram takeover for the show, and she was sat ringside and actually was like operating this little pulley and sending messages up to Giovanni, and it was just such a funny like character thing. So I'm surprised they didn't kind of focus on it more. But she basically said she's obviously planning on being back for All Out. So if Swole's got a problem with her, she can have a match as long as she beats an opponent of her choosing. So building a bit of intrigue there.
I like the way she stayed so relevant during the injury as well. I really do. It's a good way of keeping things going.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully it's not fucking just doesn't pick like Reba or something. Hopefully it's like something decent, but we shall see.
Go on, I'll let you mark out. Go on, mark out, Carl. Go on.
MJF, man. He is the best heel in the fucking business. What a promo. Like, I'm not being funny. How young is this dude? He's not been in the business for that long. How is he this good? Crazy, it's insane. Like, he comes out dressed pretty much like Donald Trump. It was a very Donald Trump kind of style campaign rally that he's doing here. And he just hit a home run. He's like, he proper goes in on the fact that AEW promised something different, and now it's just become a bunch of WWE cast-offs, is basically the sentiment he was getting to. He was just absolutely electric on the microphone. He wants Moxley. Moxley's not his champion. Just give him the belt, man. Just give him the fucking belt. It was a fantastic pro. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
So I'm totally with you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I don't want to go into this sort of thing when we're talking about reviewing Dynamite. What did you make of, and did you see the fact that EC3 reckons that MJF has stolen his gimmick? with this political character he's doing. Do you think it is too similar, and do you think it is a problem, or do you think fuck EC3, MJF was awesome? Which I imagine you're in that party, to be honest.
I mean, what gimmick is he talking about? Is it his current gimmick now, or was it when he was in his TNA stint originally?
Let's have a look. It was 2015.
No, I don't think so.
He put a thing up saying a past worth imitating. So he's trying to have a pop at MJF for doing that political thing. But at the end of the day, they might have been aware of EC3, but I actually think it's probably come from the fact that, you know, Trump is a bit of a hotbed at the minute when it comes to everything that's going on politically. So it just kind of makes sense to imitate that sort of political gimmick anyway. But yeah, I just wonder what your thoughts on the EC, because that's the only thing sort of, as far as the audience goes, the only thing dragging it down is the people making the EC3 connection, or EC3 pointing that out anyway. But
I don't think that's the case TNA at all.
Anyway, so I didn't see it in 2015. But I don't know. I think it's probably just having a shot at, isn't it, more than anything? But I fully into MJF as a heel. I think he's awesome, so I had no issue with it. But I was just curious.
No, I mean, I'm having funny. Why would you want to rip off fucking EC3? Like, I know his TNA run was decent, but that was a whole different thing. He was like Dixie Carter's fucking whatever he was to it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't really a politics thing or anything like that. MJF is literally like doing a Donald Trump imitation, basically. It's nothing to do with EC3, so it's kind of petty of him to suggest it is. Just trying to make himself relevant, I think.
Yeah, well, it's something that's getting a lot of attention social media-wise, and then he's sort of tying into it, isn't he? So, like you say, I think it is a making yourself relevant kind of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was
slight digression
there. I believe he's gonna he's going to be talking again this week, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can keep pace with that, because he set himself quite the bar there. So challenge to have him come out this week and do a decent.
Yeah, it leaves you super intrigued though, because he's always been really good on the mic, and I do just wonder what he's going to do next now. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. And then finally the main event. So I thought that was really good also. I think Darby, it's really great having him back. He's another future star, definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
So great, obviously, that he's back now is quite big for them. The main event itself was quite a fun main event. It wasn't like incredible, but it was fine. It was good. That fucking skateboard thumbtack spot, man, Jesus, that was brutal. To be fair, did they need to use thumbtacks 2 weeks in a row? Maybe not. But I liked it. It was brutal. So all in all, thought it was fine. It was decent.
Oh yeah, totally agree.
Now for some O'Shites. There's not many, but there's a couple.
What? You have O'Shites for Dynamite?
So the FTR, Arn Anderson, Cowboy segments, I'm not digging that at all, to be honest. FTR came in, they were like badasses, like tag team, yeah. And now they're just in this little weird thing going on between Cowboy and Omega, and I don't really know. I don't know. They seem whiny and bitchy, to be honest. But they have Arn Anderson there. But it's why would you have Arn Anderson there to basically look over their contract? He's not their manager, so that doesn't make any sense. It just made him look like more incompetent than it did make him look like clever for bringing him in. We find out one of the reasons they wanted to sign was to host a tag team appreciation night. Okay, do you want to plan the prom as well? What the fuck? And then the bit with Cowboy at the end, he comes in with his fucking Jack Daniels, and it was kind of amusing. Like Cowboy was amusing, don't get me wrong, but the segment itself was just, I don't know. I don't understand what the infatuation is with FTR trying to break up him and Kenny, or what's going on with that. I don't know. They've only just got on the same wavelength, and they were there hanging out and chilling and choosing.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they were going with that anyway. Because why bring the slight friendship element into it if you're going to carry on with this? Because they were pushing that they were going to all split anyway. So
yeah, they need to split now. Let's be honest. Kenny Omega is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Get him out of a tag team and get him in a singles match.
Because people are already complaining about what Omega's done in it, All Elite so far.
Yeah,
All Elite so far. So he needs to have a bit of a singles run now.
Yeah, definitely. I've not watched all of his Japan stuff. I've only seen a couple of things, and he was infinitely, better in the ring than he's showing in AEW. So give him a singles run, see if we can emulate some of that Japan stuff.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that wasn't amazing. Also, the subsequent match wasn't great either. To be fair, for someone like Omega, who's the best in the world potentially, it was just average. And then after the fact, Brody Lee tries to ambush them and stuff, but then the Bucks and FTR are out and make sure it doesn't happen. And I'm just not a fan. I want to see the likes of Bucks and FTR, like that's the money match. Like, just get.
And
get
they're
Kenny
going to
and
get there,
Page.
but they're going the long way around, and I think it might end up irking people a little bit because they've been hinting at Bucks FTR since FTR debuted, so it's like, come on, let's build to that.
Exactly.
Then.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like the likes of Butcher and Blade have really stepped up and done a really good job. But for me, just I don't know, like it's just not really landing some of this stuff now. I feel like the time is right to drop the tag titles and put them on someone like FTR or the Bucks or somebody like that.
Because again, in trying to be as fair as I can with Dynamite and not fanboying, and offering some critique, is like the tag titles are kind of forgettable at the minute.
Oh yeah.
For me, like I genuinely, I can't remember what one we were talking about, but in one of our previous when we were talking about one of their pay-per-views, I genuinely couldn't remember who the tag champions were for one sec. I had to double back and go, did they lose them? No, they didn't. It needs to have a bit of movement now to actually go, oh yeah, there they are.
Yeah, definitely. Another shite. The Shida Diamante match just felt really bland. Like it was short, which was good because like it didn't feel like I was sat through it for ages. But I don't know, it was just a bit like meh.
Which is a shame because she's not had too many matches since getting the belt. And don't be wrong, it's not like she's having consistently bad matches either. But it's a shame that this one wasn't. I don't know if it was the pacing technically that was not right with it, but it wasn't entertaining to watch really.
No, it felt like they hadn't planned out what they were going to do, and they were trying to work it out in the ring, and that you could kind of see that a bit.
Yeah, and some people can work off the fly, but if you need to plan ahead, you need to plan ahead, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And the next one, JR. So I mentioned it before. You know, I love JR. Like he's a legend, and he's one of the best commentators of all time. But he was just particularly awful this episode. Like he said, you can't blame the deadly draw on the virus. You know, people are blaming the laundry on the virus. What does that even mean? Like, I don't understand that. And then the thing with the Luchasaurus mask as well. Like, I don't know. He just said a couple of things this week, and I was just like, what are you chatting?
I don't want to be unfair, but you can kind of see why WWE didn't keep JR on commentary in some sense. He's a legend, and he can be there and be confused all he likes for me, but he's not as on point as he used to be, and you can definitely see it.
Yeah, definitely. And then the final one, you know, I'm a fan of surprises. This one, however, so obviously we found out last week that, Vicky Guerrero was going to be the new manager of Nyla Rose, and we found out that for the Deadly Draw, whatever it's called, we found out this week it's not a case of them just picking partners and stuff like that. They literally have to draw numbers out, and if you match your number, then that's your partner. And Nyla Rose was like, I don't care who I get. And then the commentator or whatever said, oh, actually, someone else has drawn out a number that matches yours. And who could it be? Who's going to be a tag team partner?
Who's going to be?
Fucking Ariane. At one time, Funkadactyl.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, like,
okay,
seriously?
Cool.
This is the girl who on Tough Enough said her favourite match was Alicia Fox versus Melina and got absolutely annihilated by Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, of course. I mean, who could forget the infamous Alicia Fox versus Melina match?
Like, yeah, Jesus. Like, I know that maybe there's not a whole lot of talent out there at the minute, but Ariane? Really? Like, I thought she was retired and everything.
To be honest, it's not even so much that. It's like, why are you sort of why are we doing a big segment about it? It's not a big draw. Like,
no.
Now you're drawing focus to the fact that it's not a big draw.
Exactly. Yeah, I just felt that was really bizarre, to be honest. But
yeah,
look, I'm kind of clutching at straws, I think, a little bit to get some O'Shites there. Like, all in all, another fantastic fanboy dream episode for me. So I definitely think it's a 4 out of 5. Really, really enjoyed it. That MGF promo was something else. The way the opening match, the fucking war horse and all that good stuff. Like, it was great. The main event was decent too. So yeah, 4 for me.
I'm gonna go 3.5.
Okay.
It was very good, but do I get it to a 4? I don't know.
Okay, that's good.
I'll go 3.5. No real rationale to that. I just don't. It doesn't feel like a 4 for me. Okay.
So, do you want to round it out with SmackDown?
Let's talk SmackDown. Yeah, I like it. Why not? So, as far as the card goes, Carl, we had AJ Styles versus Grand Metalik, with AJ Styles taking the win. That was for the IC title as well, for those keeping track. We had Baron Corbin versus Drew Gulak for some reason, with Baron Corbin taking the win. We had Big E versus The Miz, with Big E taking the win. We saw Naomi going up against Lacey Evans, with Naomi taking the win. which is surprising to actually. Not so much a match, but we saw Sonya Deville attack Mandy Rose. And then we rounded the night off with Bayley versus Nikki Cross in a rematch for the women's title, with Bayley taking the win.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the highlights go, Carl, sadly I've not got too many. So the first one you might disagree with me a fair bit on, because it's not the best way of doing things, but I'll explain my reasons for it being a highlight, and that is the fact that Shorty G is getting some TV time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might disagree as the type of TV time he's getting, and I totally understand that, and Corbin actually gets a mention on my shite, but the fact that he's actually getting a bit of TV time and potentially, some sort of progress in terms of gimmick or something is a good thing, because I think he's a really good wrestler. I enjoyed him as Chad Gable. I always hated the whole stupid shit they went through with Shorty G, but I hope this might lead somewhere away from Shorty G. So that is pure. It's here almost out of hope, because it wasn't a particularly good segment on SmackDown, but I just like the fact that he's actually on the air for once.
Yeah, I mean, so to be honest, I saw it and I did scoff at it. I was like, "Oh, you fucking messing seriously, Shorty G." I feel like on reflection, it's probably a Daniel Bryan thing, and it's probably his way of saying, "Look, you've murdered his character by calling him Shorty G. How are we going to get him out of being called that? We'll have to turn him heel." And so I think even Corbin might refer to him as Gable or Chad or something. So I feel like that's definitely what they're doing. They're trying to kind of push him out of that Shorty G thing. And so in that regard,
I really do. So I don't know. I'm intrigued for where it's going to go, if we're going to get a decent push for Shorty G. The only other highlight I've got, Carl, if I'm honest, is Bray Wyatt and his shocking appearance at the end, which I thought was truly shocking and effective in a night where you didn't really see Braun and you didn't get much in terms of any sort of direction of them going forward. So they just suddenly have that, and I don't think anyone can genuinely say that they saw that coming. And it worked really effectively, and it makes sense from a story point of view. As much as it is very much just Braun having a crush on Alexa, it still makes a lot of sense from a story point of view, and I think it worked really well. I think a lot of people are really hoping it's going to lead to a Alexa's sister Abigail thing. I honestly don't think that's the case. I think he's just using Alexa to get to Braun. That's as clear as that. But people are so wanting Sister Abigail to be something that I think everyone's hoping that she's going to end up being evil and turning on Braun or something like that. And it's like, I honestly can't see that happening. And I'd actually prefer that it doesn't happen. I just want it to be a pawn in the Fiend's games. That's all I need it to be. But I was fully for. I thought this was really well executed.
You just want Alexa to be a pawn. Okay.
Yes. There was pawn.
Right, like the chess piece. Right, okay, yeah. okay. But yeah, no, I agree. I think I wouldn't like to see her character change to become Sister Abigail. Nikki Cross, however,
what did you make of that? Because to be honest, last week I was like, I can't believe they're splitting up these two when everyone's waiting for Banks and Bayley. But it almost looks like they're trying to lean towards Nikki Cross's sort of gimmick that she had in NXT. And I'm to be honest, as a solo character, I'm not really that big on Nikki Cross. So maybe that sort of shift into that sort of crazy character might be a good move for her if she's going to do more solo work anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think she works better as a heel and as a crazy psychopath. So I'm all for that kind of. I think she's been quite cringe on the the segments on the Talking Bliss and stuff. She just has felt out of place.
Yeah, to be fair, she's not added a lot, has she? So.
No.
But we'll go into the O'Shea Scarl if I could.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what you thought of it, but just generally Jeff and Sheamus, like the unnecessary segments where we clarify from both of them that the feud's done. It's like, okay, didn't we kind of get that from the match? Like what was that about? Like,
no idea.
I'd be more annoyed if it wasn't done. I don't get why you needed to do a segment to go, yeah, he's someone else's problem now. It's like, okay, the fuck was that?
No idea.
Yeah, really strange booking. The whole thing's been really strange booking, actually. But these sort of little promos from them just didn't work for me. And the next one is the whole fucking mess that was Corbin, right? So he's going up against Drew Gulak, which I'm all for, like, random matches, because at the end of the day they're meant to be a wrestling company. So occasionally you'll go up against someone who you haven't actually got some sort of beef against. That's fine. So I didn't have an issue with him having a match with Drew. But then it's like, okay, so Jeff gets involved. Why? Then Shorty gets involved. Why? Well, they tried to address that a little bit with the conversation he had with Corbin earlier on, but Shorty G turning heel from a story point of view, it was like, hang on, Corbin was the one who gave you the fucking nickname in the first place. Why are you going to side with him? So again, like, as much as I'm like, yeah, get some airtime, that's awesome. I wasn't really all for the way they turned the Shorty G heel. It was just like, he's going to side with Corbin because. But again, like you say, if they're going to push it and Corbin's going to start calling him Gable again, and we're going to pull away from that shite, I can work with it. But yeah, it just seemed like a bit of a mess, this whole thing. It's like, aren't you meant to be feuding with Matt Riddle? I know Matt Riddle was involved, but it's like, what were all these other moving parts for? I don't get it. Because he basically, for those who haven't seen it and are just listening to us, you've noticed, Shorty G or Chad Gable, he goes after Riddle. So Riddle obviously ran in to make the save for Jeff, and then Shorty G just then sort of, and again, it's a good display of wrestling for Shorty G because he goes for the German suplexes on Riddle, and you know, fair enough. But at the same time, it was like, why we suddenly got all these people involved? I just wanted a match between Corbin and Riddle. It's all this mess.
Like something straight out of Raw, didn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It's like suddenly everyone's involved. So me other shite is, what's the deal with Sonya Deville? Her issue with hair at the minute, right? Because I don't even think it's Mandy Rose anymore. I think she's got a real problem with people's hair, right? And it's borderline fetish. Like she actually had a match with Lacey Evans. People, like, I don't know if you remember this, Carl, a few, like, well, feels like ages ago now, but she had a match with Lacey Evans just because she was blonde. Now she's cutting people's hair out like she should be in the Nightmare Collective. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I just can't believe this is still going on. Like,
bear in mind, this is a woman, right? And I mean no offense to you, Sonya, because in real life I know you're a real, you know, you're a pioneer for the women's wrestling industry and the LGBT community. But think of the storyline Sonya's in at the moment. Is like, okay, you're really mad at someone for getting a boyfriend, and you hate blondes. It's not exactly the biggest step in women's wrestling story-wise, is it? This is all a bit shit. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm not for it at all. Like,
I don't get why it's still going on.
Yeah. It's like, weren't we done with this a while back?
I mean, Dolph has literally been traded to a different show and everything. Like, yeah. And you're still involved in the storyline. Like, he's
still attacking. I feel like this is going to go on forever. I feel like we're going to get to a point, a couple of years in, when Otis and Mandy are getting married, and she's going to run in and attack her on a wedding day. Like, that's how far WWE are willing to take this shit. But yeah, I feel like they haven't really got a direction for Sonya, so she just randomly attacks Mandy every once in a while. Madness. And as a sidebar, I think she must have Matt Hardy's old locker looking at a coach come down the ring with. But my last shite of the night, Carl, is more of a general statement that I'm really getting kind of bored with Miz and Morrison. Like, I get it. I get how the gimmick works, and it was amusing for a while. But I just kind of need them to separate now, and let's have a solo run for Morrison. They're getting to the point that I'm actually kind of not interested in them on the screen, I'll be honest. So I don't know how you feel about them, Carl, but certainly they landed in my shites, just not so much for this week, but generally, because I'm just like, I get it. These are funny, kind of.
I mean, they're no Street Profits. Look, obviously when Morrison came back and they kind of got back together and stuff like that as like a little team, I was like all for it. I think that we just had far too many kind of Miz TV or whatever the fuck it's called moments now where we've just heard them chat shit for too long, like the whole Braun Strowman thing and like the silly pranks. And yeah, I don't know, I kind of agree with you. It's overplayed a little bit now, I think. I kind of want to see them break up and just have Morrison single run and a Miz single run.
Nah, I'm with you there, mate.
But speaking of single runs, what did you make of Big E?
I don't know how to put this because I don't want him to change too much, but I think he kind of needs to take life a bit more serious if he's going to have a singles run.
Yeah, even his theme, like I feel like that's what hindered Kofi a bit. It's like, yeah, we get you part of the New Day, but like just have your own identity as well. Just have like
it's mad because I used to love Kofi's old theme as well, and he didn't even use it when he was doing the single stuff. But yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, you make a good point there. He's come out to the New Day song, and he's still just, I don't know. I think you notice how much more of a clown he is when he's by himself. In that sense, like, I don't know. Maybe a slight gimmick change. I don't need him to change too much because I do like his humor. I think he's a fun guy. But if he's gonna have a solo run, I think they do need to mix it up a bit and not have him be so New Day about it all. And like you say, I think that's exactly what happened with Kofi. It was Kofi from the New Day with the World Championship. Like, I think that's kind of some of the problem. Like,
Yeah.
he carried on being part of the New Day, and I'm not saying separate, but he needs to stand out on his own, and this is definitely something big he needs to do as well. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Any other notes from SmackDown?
What else did I have? I should have mentioned it when you're talking about Mandy Rose and stuff, but I made a note just like she cut her hair off, didn't she, at the end of it, because she's obsessed with it and stuff. Like, why is it whenever someone like pulls the move, I'm going to cut your hair off? Why do they just cut the very bottom, like where the extensions are? Like, why don't they just go full tilt? Just go, you know what? Actually, just make her bald. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so you just cut off her extensions. Cool. So yeah, that was just like.
It's like, your hair's surprisingly longer this week. I wonder why.
Yeah. So yeah, and the only other thing to mention, I suppose, is the whole Lacey Naomi thing. I don't really know.
Oh yeah, I don't think I give that a mention at all. Apologies. Other than,
well, yeah, I mean, that like I don't really get it. They're trying to, she generated Naomi her own kind of like hashtag and her own kind of following, hasn't she, off the back of it, and they've just kind of failed to really do anything with it.
I genuinely don't know why though. Like, don't be wrong, I'm nothing against Naomi. She is an underutilized talent, but how can you generate buzz and a hashtag when you're not even on TV? Like, this is the second week I've seen her now.
Yeah.
So how is she suddenly so over? I don't understand that bit.
It's one of them. Like, it all stemmed from that stupid karaoke thing, didn't it? But it was like, and again,
karaoke thing.
No kind of disrespect, but you can. That's the kind of segment that if Dana Brooke was in it, you wouldn't be going, fucking, she deserves better and sing fucking with Tamina. But Lacey, in my opinion, deserves a hashtag just as much as fucking Naomi does.
I think this is the mistake they've made straight out of the gates, because they're putting her against Lacey to try and push Naomi. And it's like, you can turn Lacey heel all you want. I think Lacey's awesome. So they needed to put her against someone who I didn't really care about. Like, not necessarily a heel, but like they could have put her against Carmella or Dana Brooke or someone who was a lot less over at this point. And there's no offense to those two, but Lacey was over. People were loving her. So why did, like, this is gonna cause conflict, and not in a good way. It's gonna cause people to divide and go, I don't like Naomi, I prefer Lacey. But there you go.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like there could have been a better opponent to push Naomi over, at least initially.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah, it just kind of feels like she deserves better, and what better is just some really lame feud that we threw together.
I'll mention it, Carl, because I know it was on your notes, but I'll just sort of start talking about the AJ Styles versus Grand Metalik, because I mentioned it on the card and I did not mention it in my highlights or lowlights, and I think we probably have the same reason in that it was probably the most sort of lackluster of the AJ Styles matches that we've had for the belt so far.
Yeah,
so
I don't know whether I built my own expectations
from me, but
yeah, I don't know whether I expected too much from it, because obviously by all accounts these guys together should put on a fantastic match, but it just wasn't, was it? Like, it was fine. It was okay. It
wasn't the best of what we've had so far of these title matches. I think that's been the problem with it, and that's not to say it wasn't a good match. As far as like, because we usually put a little marker next to them to remind ourselves, so you would take her across, and it was a good match. I've put a tick next to it. I did enjoy the match, but it wasn't big enough. It didn't. I didn't come out of it going, oh, that was a highlight. That was a hell of a match. It was good, but yeah, I thought it worth mentioning, because I know you noted it as well, that it was not as good as you'd hoped, and I feel like I probably didn't have any real hopes for it, but I was kind of expecting the same caliber of what we've been having, and I think it probably failed to hit the mark.
Yeah, definitely agreed.
So if that's everything, Carl, my rating for SmackDown this week is 2.5. It was okay. Wasn't the best, but it's certainly not the worst.
Oh God, no. There's been plenty worse episodes of this show, but yeah, I thought it was middle of the road. There was some stuff that was kind of cool. I think the ending is what really made it, to be honest. But if you look at it from what actually happened on the show kind of thing, like most of it, if I'm being perfectly honest, was a bit like meh. But that.
To be honest, I dare say it'd be a 1.5 for me if it didn't have that end bit in.
Yeah, same. To be fair, like the whole show was very bland, but just the kind of shock factor and stuff, just it made you go whoa, and it's like sometimes it's stuff like that which is capable of giving a show a whole additional point. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's what happens. So interested to see where it goes.
Indeed. So that is This Week in Wrestling. We're done, Carl. It's over. I'm sorry. Don't get too upset.
We're done. It's over. I can change.
Right, so that is another week, guys. Another week done, another week down. As always, check out our social medias, check out our YouTube, check out everything. We're everywhere. We mention merch all the time. We have a what? Oh yeah, we are.
Behind you.
that thing you can see in the corner of your eye. That's us. But no, genuinely, visit our Instagram, visit our TikTok, assuming you can still get TikTok. That's already up in the air at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Trump.
Thanks,
over 5,000
those
followers.
Are biggest. Damn you. But like you'll see lots of fun memes, lots of massively awesomely created things from Carl with his morphs and stuff like that as well. All really good content that is an aside to the podcast. Obviously, you can find us on Anchor or anywhere you find your podcasts. We do have a YouTube channel if you want to see our smiley faces. And obviously, always a great help to us if you want to give a like and a share.
Yes, please do. And I think also just before we sign off, Anthony, one thing that I mentioned to you before from looking at our analytics is quite a big representation from a particular state in the United States of America, Anthony, isn't there?
There is, Carl, there is. From the, what one was it again?
Virginia.
West Virginia. No, it wasn't just West Virginia. Virginia. So we want to personally thank the people of Virginia, I suppose. That's and the representation was insanely big over there. That's like
yeah,
more so than the rest of America. So what are you doing, the rest of America? Up your game, man.
Exactly. We always knew Virginia's where it's at.
Is it the accents? Can you understand us better than the rest of America can? Is that what it is?
Who knows? Please tell us if you are from Virginia and you listen to this. Whether it's on whether it's on Spotify, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, whether it's on YouTube, let us know. We would love to know why you've decided to listen.
Because that's how insecure we are.
Virginia.
That's how insecure we are.
Please tell us.
Why are you doing this?
I would love to know. Obviously, we are global. There's a lot of states in the US that listen to us. But
indeed.
Virginia, we are loved. So let us know why you love us. We would appreciate it.
You can communicate with us about most anything as well, to be fair. But first of all, we want to know why you love us in detail.
Maybe lead with that, and then you can tell us why you hate us afterwards. Yeah, cool.
But yeah, as always, guys, we'll see you next week, and it's been a pleasure. And yeah, thanks for everything.
Take it easy.
Greetings and salutations. It's your man CD, the fallen angel Christopher Daniels, and I'm out here in the Southern California sunshine, making my way through this quarantine like everyone else. Hopefully, you're all home safe and healthy. I want to do a quick shout out to Carl and Anthony, who are the leaders of the A to the K Wrestle Talk podcast. You guys can watch that on YouTube, listen to it on Spotify, etc., etc. And I just want to say I appreciate their support. The guys at AEW, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for fans like you guys. And I'm sure Carl and Anthony feel the same way about all of you that listen to A to the K Wrestle Talk. So keep listening to A to the K Wrestle Talk. You guys stay home, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you later.